I seek to explain the world to others who don't quite see things the way I do. But I don't think that my view of the world is irrational, even if it seems that all around me are, in fact, mad or silly. What I promote, which is patriarchy through theocracy, though I be agnostic, makes sense. I speak in military terms and how the military is organized. The theoretical shape of the military is a pyramid, a very stable kind of structure. Big, big below and pointy above. It reflects human nature, really, that the masses are many, the elite are few. Of course, we can argue about who should be the elite, and traditionally it has been accepted that brawn is below brains. And it makes sense. Now, I'm reminded of a book by John Steinbeck. It's the one with the clever person and the stupid person. And for the moment, I can't remember the title of that book. But thanks to Google, a title will soon be revealed. It's not the grapes of wrath, I keep thinking of that, but yes, of mice and men. The Hindu caste system reflects this, with the priesthood, the Brahmins right at the top, the warrior caste, the Kshatriyas below the priesthood, and then the merchants, and then the labourers, and then the untouchables. It makes sense. In the West, we like to pretend that we are a meritocracy, which is what made the West great. But social mobility has lessened over the decades because of the mistakes of the welfare state. I could dedicate another stream to how the welfare state shouldn't exist, and we should in fact return to a humane form of slavery, but I won't test the waters in controversy so early in this stream. But this is what I think, and I'm prepared to defend myself if only people were prepared to engage with me. But I find very few people capable or prepared to do so, which is very sad. But anyway, back to the military and its organization. It is organized in that particular way, in a pyramid structure, for purely operational reasons of military efficiency. It is organized in that way because orders need to be given and then followed, and if anyone within the structure doesn't follow it, the weakest link must have some way of being revealed as soon as possible. So there's a chain of command, and if it is broken, the culprit can be quickly identified. That is the purpose of patriarchy, which is run on hierarchical terms, with the alpha male leader right at the top, chosen by the beta males, whose interests he defends and protects. Now, what's in it for women? For women, we will have a stable society, and we will know what the rules are and plan our lives accordingly, and, well, do our best to get the best kind of husband available so that we can better our lives. And we have to do it soon because the window of opportunity for us is very small, really, from the age from which we are allowed to marry and the age when we cease to become marriageable. And this is equated with the end of our childbearing years. This is very simple to understand, and previous generations worked on this principle and did all right. That was presumably how the West became great. And now it is declining because we have a rather different kind of social hierarchy, which is that of an inverted pyramid spinning on its apex, very unstable indeed. Now, all in theory it needs is for me to point this out and for the problem to be acknowledged and then corrected. What are my difficulties? I don't think it's because my people don't understand me. Because I think they half understand and then it goes out of their minds, because what clouds their judgment or makes them forget is their own immediate concerns, their own egotistical concerns about their ability to obstruct me. I can win all the arguments I like, but without an army, I am helpless. And of course, the people to whom I address my arguments, they have the power to ignore me or pretend they don't understand, or say that their immediate concerns are more important than my narrative and my arguments and my proposals. They themselves have nothing better to propose. They have no solutions. They only have the power to ignore me and marginalize me and demonize me by lying about me and falsely accusing me of all kinds of malign motivations. But as it is, I think I am the best political thinker, the most methodological political scientist, with the most cogent political philosophy and strategy out of all the people with much bigger YouTube channels than me, and I am prepared to speak out and explain myself. But without the support of those to whom my solution is intended to benefit, I will get nowhere. The thing is, I already have won all the arguments. In all my years of political activism, nobody has come up with a better political solution than me. I look at all the other channels and it's all about whinging, talking darkly about blood and soil and the Welsh language and how special being white is. As if their skin was magic and special and capable of protecting them from the oppression of their government, who is silly and mad. Apparently, that is what they believe. But they already know that there's no unquestionable chain of command in their society. They must know, surely, that those above them simply do what they please and break all the rules and change the rules while the game is still in play. And they do so with impunity, knowing that those whose victims that those who are their victims are helpless to challenge them because they are divided and they are stupid and they are infantilized and riddled with mental health issues or busily indulging in their sins of anger, pride, envy, sloth, lust, greed, and gluttony. But they, degenerate though they are, have the power to resist and ignore all my arguments and say to me, who are you to tell us what to do? Who am I indeed? In a rational world, somebody telling the truth is high in status to somebody who is a liar. In a rational world, somebody who is consistently reasonable and logical should be higher in status above somebody who is irrational and believes in nonsense. In a rational world, somebody who has declared moral principles should be considered higher in status than those who do not even know what principles are. So there you go. This is the basis on which I claim my fitness to tell you what you ought to be doing. And in any case, you have no better solution. You have no plan other than to, hope for everything to fall into chaos and disorder and build back better. Apparently, you think it's going to happen within your lifetime, within the next few generations, or will things continue to get worse for a few more generations until you become a failed state, unless you avail yourself of a perfectly good diagnosis and a perfectly good prescription for the cure to your disease. But then, if you cannot be moved by truth, reason, or morality, then you are lost and deserve to be lost. So, on the question of hierarchy and all things that being a patriarchy based on a theocracy would give to you, you would have a clear chain of command, God is above the law should conform to the Noahide laws. The 7 Noahide laws should be used as a ranking system to rank the 4 Gentile religions, and when rabbis can be prevailed upon to rank the 4 Gentile religions and do, for a change, what they were chosen by God to do, then it will become obvious that Islam is the most Noahide and Christianity the least. And once this is done, by the people who are supposed to live in the kingdom of priests, we might begin to have a better outcome. Now, on the question of those people who come from a kingdom of priests, there's a problem in acknowledging their peculiar status, particularly by those who have always disliked them. But the point about authority is that if we recognize the concept of authority, then we have to follow orders, in the sense that we know we need the rule of law, we know we need laws, we know that we won't all agree with every law, and we accept that if we break the law, we will be punished, whether or not we agree with the law or not. This is really the concept of authority, and obviously the people in a position to enforce the law is superior in status to the one subject to it. The peculiar position of the Jews is that they are, in my view, the intercessor, the conduit through which we might signal to the supreme authority that we are aware of his authority. And if we are aware of his authority, we would know the proper channels that these entreaties, prayers should be made. We have to get certain things done, we have to go through the proper channels. This is said in government and so many other situations. Now, do Jews lose their right to be known as God's chosen people, even if they behave badly? And I'm saying, actually, no, they don't. It is not up to us to declare that they have lost their status. In fact, no revealed scripture has said that Jews have lost their status through being naughty and not obeying God's laws. They remain God's chosen people. Whether they behave well or not, we all know about corrupt priests and corrupt priesthoods. The corruption of individual members does not negate the idea of a priesthood. And it is not up to Gentiles to emancipate Jews and thereby corrupt their morals with ideas from the French Revolution. And it seems that both Jews and Gentiles have both been corrupted by the ideas, by the nonsensical and incoherent ideas of the French Revolution. So the thing is, if Gentiles were properly directed, they could make God's chosen people do what they were chosen by God to do. If they were united, if they were focused, if they were doing the same thing at the same time, their actions would make such an impact. But they ignore me because I'm only a lone woman. Nobody listens to me. I have 7 people watching me now. Whether you believe in a God or not, if what I hope for happens, then there will be change. There will be acknowledgement of error. People will become emboldened. The tide of moral sewage will be stopped. There will be some kind of defense and pushback. If only one person will do what it is that I hope for, because in all these matters, something is decided on for good or ill. So everything hinges on the decision of this person. Whose authority I do acknowledge, since it cannot be done without the cooperation of this individual who refuses to cooperate for reasons of pride, which is a deadly sin. Whatever happens, I know that I have arrived on a particular point of the narrative. And so, in a way, I can rest my burden on that person whose responsibility it is to cooperate with me or forever bear the burden of not cooperating with me and causing history to go one way rather than the other. So you see, I think I've worked out how things could be sorted. I think I've worked out who represents which group and what is needed to put in motion a chain of events that will change things for the better. I'm pleased that I have identified the group as well as the individual, because really you have to go to the top person, don't you, to get things done. There's no point, arriving in a strange country and talking to the peasants. You do have to be taken to their leader, and it's not a good sign if you ask to be taken to the leader and nobody knows what the leader is, who the leader is, or they start fighting amongst themselves to be leader. Then you know that you are talking to a divided group, a group that will be easy to exploit. I'll deal with the chat now. Am I looking for the best husband available? I don't think any man would want me, because my political activism would tend to make me neglect him unless he shares my political aspirations. I don't think men are really in any way able to discuss my ideas. I mean, certainly not no one in high places will be seen there discussing my ideas, and anyone bumping along at the bottom would be of no interest to me at all. So I have that problem. And it is a shame that the people at the top are, in fact, too afraid to even mock my ideas. Something must be very wrong indeed. You would have thought that the media would be calling me in for interviews to question my motives, to mock my ideas. But I think they have been instructed not to talk about my ideas at all. I believe I am under a news blackout, and Western media have been strictly forbidden from talking about me or my ideas, however controversial and arresting they are. PB? What's PB? What's PB? Dr. Mengele. Bubak says the people that run the show don't give a flying fuck about religion. They don't have to. I'm not really appealing to them. I don't. I am appealing to the man upstairs, right? Because when everything looks hopeless, the only thing you can appeal to would be the being more powerful than your oppressors. Surely that is how things work. So, Colin, why do you think I'd want to link up with Luke? He deletes all his streams anyway, so what's the point? And he has no moral authority whatsoever. I know people with bigger channels watch me because they complain about my croaky voice or whatever. So one way or another, my ideas are being absorbed unconsciously or consciously, willingly or unwillingly, through a kind of intellectual osmosis. Bubak thinks I'm not aware of geopolitics and international finance, and I'm aware of all that. I'm saying we're obviously not happy about this kind of thing. Not Westerners and not non Westerners. Dr. Mengele says, I should team up with Ralph. Well, Ralph has shown hostility to me, and he is part of the. He has become one of the people who hide me in his chat. So he's no good. And he doesn't really do anything other than pander to the lowest common denominator like Thomas Barden Rees. People who say nothing in particular, intellectuals can just go on for hours and hours talking about nothing in particular. I'm not about that. I do have a solution, and I think I promote it pretty well. People know what I stand for, even if they don't agree. So Boo thinks the people in, I don't know whose chat is it that the people are very high IQ? My chat or somebody else's? I don't know. I get all kinds. PB, so what context? Oh, it doesn't really matter how many people hear my streams as long as, it could just be one person, provided they are the person capable of influencing events. So I have no particular faith in great numbers. Lots of people with lots of subscribers are nowhere now. They're off YouTube. They're in Odyssey or BitChute or what's the other one? Rumble. And once you're there, you're pretty much condemned as being far right. Right? This is what they hope to do to us, divide and rule. So what I say is at least currently permissible. If you get your channel deleted just for mentioning my name or secular Quranism, then I would choose to regard it as success. That I have come to the notice officially, finally, to the authorities, and they have put an algorithm to knock out anyone discussing secular Quranism. This is how I choose to regard any potential moves that they would make to censor me. I am the one with the developing narrative. I am not sitting on my arse, just complaining about the usual groups that people in these circles complain about. Hat trick soup. I don't know what you mean. No comment is possible from leftist feminists. Well, I know that they um, make a point of not engaging with me, and when I was on Twitter, they told each other not to engage with me. I know who they are. So Dr. Mengele says, yes, I'm glad you mentioned Jews. Now, they have a peculiar position, don't they? Because whether you hate them for theological, ideological reasons, because you think they killed Jesus and you ought to hate them, um, you have to acknowledge that they were the ones who. What I'm trying to say is that if Jews didn't exist, there would be no Christianity or Islam, because Christianity and Islam are religions that are derivative of Judaism. So you can go on about how great the West was through Christianity, and you'll have to acknowledge, you have to pay obeisance to the Jews, because but for Judaism there would be no Jews. But for Jews existing, there would be no Jesus for Christians to worship, and you can't escape from that reality. And if you are atheist and you deny the existence of God, and you think that Jews are deluded as to their identity, you would still have to contend with the fact that they are a distinct group who have, whether God exists or not, managed to stay in existence despite 2,000 years of exile and get their homeland back. And that is probably why you hate them, because you envy them. And they don't have to be good people, they just have to remain in existence. Obviously, it would be better for them if they were good people, then they would suffer less. It has also been said that Jews are a microcosm of humanity and therefore represent the sins of humanity, because apparently they have the power to change things, but they do not because of their own sin. Now, this is a narrative that I find, as a former atheist and a current agnostic, as irresistibly compelling. Because, well, it frames a political discourse in a continuing narrative. We are talking in the present continuous tense. Nothing is set in stone. Jews were made God's chosen people, chosen to do something which they are so far not doing. Some of them have acknowledged that this is the case, this is a problem, but they're not going to stick their necks out unless it is safe to do so, and some ground prepared for them to feel that it is safe. And this person upon whom I focus has the power to do this, but currently refuses. So I have explained that we have to accept, if we see the utility in the concept of authority, then we have to practice it. And we can only do so by following certain principles, such as respecting one's elders, even though we don't think that, even if we think they're being silly, because this is what hierarchy means. It means following orders even though we don't agree with them, because that is inherent in the concept of authority. I didn't understand that when I was younger, but now I know better. And I've explained to you that the law is the law even though we don't agree with it, and it must necessarily be so for there to exist any kind of authority or the rule of law at all. And if we want to order people in our society, it's not just people, it's things, decisions. We have to prefer the truth to lies. We have to prefer reason to irrationality. We have to prefer the principled person to the lunatic, to the criminal. That is what we must do if we want an orderly society. And if we don't know who is the criminal or the madman, then we should be prepared to discuss how we are to define criminality and insanity. That is what we are called upon to do as rational, reasoning, honest human beings. Who want to solve problems using truth, logic, and morality. And I just don't see how anyone who rejects truth, logic, and morality, who refuses to discuss these things, should be able to have the upper hand on those who do. And if this is our society, then it deserves to be destroyed. Why am I sad? Well, I think I am at a crossroads. And I think I may not get what I want, even if I've spent my entire life practicing getting what I want. But then, who am I to question? The person or the force that is higher in authority than me. I agree with you, Dr. Mengele. I agree with you. But what you said about the snotty accent. All right, I think I've said more or less what I want to say about why the law is above us and why, if we want the laws in our society to be just, we should choose a moral system that is most in harmony with the no-hide laws. Because I think most of us can agree with the no-hide laws, can't we? And I think atheists could be persuaded about even the laws forbidding blasphemy and idolatry, if they see the purpose in having an orderly society. So even atheists have to acknowledge a hypothetical supreme authority, even though they deny the existence of the Abrahamic God. Because anything that is, in theory, better than what we have in practice and reality is a kind of ascension to God. Ascension as in climbing up towards God. Now, I've explained previously what I mean by that, in that you could be a litigant appealing to ever higher courts until you reach the Supreme Court and you still don't get your justice, but you think in a perfect world you would. And I'm saying even that idea of an atheist, that in a perfect world this atheist litigant would get justice, is a kind of ascension towards God. But obviously I can't carry on doing this forever. There are limits. And having focused on this particular individual as, in a way, a kind of final authority on the matter, I will have to accept the decision of this individual. And this saddens me if it doesn't go the way I hope. But to conclude, I think what I'm saying is kind of really pretty simple. That, our laws should be just, and then our societies will be all right, and everybody will feel happy and good and safe. And that's what we want. We just want the best people to be in charge. We want to feel that our laws are just, and that if we work hard, we will be rewarded. If we do good, we will be rewarded, and evil will be punished, and that sort of thing. These would be our spiritual needs, and we do not even have a government capable of creating this impression for the majority of its people. And nobody seems to understand that this is really a kind of minimum standard of government. It's not enough just to feed us and accommodate us. We want to feel that the best people are in charge, and good will be rewarded and evil punished in this life, in our society, in our country. That is what we want. And when we see public intellectuals refusing to discuss this, when we see anti-establishment organizations refusing to discuss this, but simply repeat the same old, discourse of victimhood and blame. It's the Jews. And then refusing to move from that. That is unconstructive and self-defeating. And persistent though I can be, I have to recognize my limits and give up when the final authority on this matter, this particular individual that I focus on, refuses to grant my wish. So that is all I have to say for the matter. Thank you very much for your time and attention.